you may want to try multi-cluster warehouse as part of the workshop. So I'll hand it over. What was that? Wi-Fi, the Omni lobby is open. I did find another free one, the CM one, and then there is the one for the conference.
Analytics. Look for the NAS, and the password is capital N Nash, and then NASH, and capital A Analytics.
And if we want to change any of the other, if someone wants another Wi-Fi signal, there should be a 2019 Summit.
Yeah, that's the one with the Nash Analytics.
And then Nash Analytics with a capital N and a capital A. So trial.snowflake.com.
All right, so I think we'll, hey, 9:01, let's get started, right? So my name is Todd Crossland. I run the healthcare and life sciences vertical for Snowflake, but don't think that that's just, I am a healthcare guy. Interested anyone in here from a healthcare and life sciences perspective, would happy to discuss more specific healthcare and life sciences use cases with you guys after this session. There's my only plug for me. But what we're going to do today basically is, this is Jason Shull. So one of our sales engineers here locally. We got Mike Lindsay, SE, locally as well. And David Sanders is way back there, one of our sales directors. Oh, and he's getting a picture back there. Yep. And Steve Bean, one of our sales directors locally as well. Raise your hand. There you go. All right. So we're going to try to get a lot done here. We recognize from an audience perspective, generally speaking, when we do sessions like this, I'm going to say what we're going to end with is the ability to show you and get hands-on being able to use the sharing, secure sharing aspect of our platform, which has had a huge impact on the industry in how we share data. But to get there, you got to start with understand what Snowflake is. But really, from the hands-on workshop perspective, don't feel as though you got to, right? If you can't participate, that's fine. Plenty will be participating. Jason will be rocking and rolling here on the screen. You guys can watch. But first 15 minutes intro, second 15 minutes quick demo, and then we're going to dive in and show you guys and let you guys play along with that as well. Sound good? All right. So show of hands, who here kind of has heard of Snowflake, number one? All right. Number two, who knows the 101? Who's had a 101 and kind of understands the concepts of Snowflake when I say separate compute and storage? Who knows that concept? Cool. All right. Well, now you know. 101.
Okay.
Great. So I'll pass it over to Jason.
All right. Thanks, Todd. So it was great having Todd come over from being someone that was in the healthcare industry. So we get him to Nashville as often as we can with the amount of healthcare customers that we have in this area. I came over from Oracle. I had a number of positions at Oracle. And then my manager, Mike Lindsay, who's here with me, he has a background in Netezza and MicroStrategy and IBM and some other stops along the way. So a lot of the folks, the engineers at Snowflake, we have pretty wide background. So some of us are data scientists, some of us are database administrators, some of us are ETL developers, BI developers, BI visualization guys. So a little bit of everything. Some cloud architects range from AWS to Microsoft Azure to Google. Snowflake, we partner with everyone. We want everyone to use the tools that you're comfortable with using today, and then enhance what you're able to do with data with Snowflake. So if you weren't here earlier when we announced kind of how the process is going to go, as Todd mentioned, here's the link for signing up for your free trial account, trial.snowflake.com. And again, you'll want to at least select the Enterprise Edition so that we can test the multi-cluster warehouse feature. So here's the layout for the session. The truth is I've got about 3 hours worth of content. I'm not joking about that, so I'm just going to touch on the surface of what data sharing is, what Snowflake does, how we add value to your business. The truth is we just want everyone to be data-driven. So our founders came from Oracle. They are actually the guys that invented real application clusters. They're a couple of French gentlemen. And when they worked at Oracle, this is a true story, and I did ask them about this before I ever heard them say it in a public setting when I met them at new hire training last November. I was hired on in October, and they said, we can't pronounce the word Oracle with our heavy French accent. And we are huge skiers. We're from the French Alps, so we can pronounce Snowflake, so there it is. And I said, I figured when I came over from Oracle it was a Snowflake schema, and they said, no, it's not a Snowflake schema, it's just we like skiing. And so it's kind of been funny coming over to Snowflake, because we were started in 2012. When they left Oracle, they were kind of commissioned by Larry Ellison, who was the CEO at the time, to build a cloud native data warehouse that had like data lake capabilities embedded. They didn't want to use something that was bolted on from legacy Oracle. So the original Oracle database went GA in 1978. So we're talking about 40 years of coding in a legacy database platform. So Terry and Benoit wanted to make Snowflake completely cloud native and work on commodity cloud services to level the playing field with data for everyone, so that no matter if you're a small company that just has a couple of employees that needs to do something from a data perspective, to whether you're a large enterprise like Capital One that has multiple petabytes to Snowflake in 2 regions of AWS each and every month at a rate of about 10 terabytes an hour, and they can concurrently handle up to 10,000 business users in the cloud. So that's something that they weren't able to do with any other technologies that they had on premises, from legacy engineered systems like Teradata, Exadata, Netezza, some HANA solutions, et cetera. Today, they're able to scale exactly as they need to. So our founders, just the 2 of them, spent about 2.5 years coding Snowflake from the ground up. They got a little apartment in San Mateo, California, in the middle of Silicon Valley, and they just coded. I don't think they slept very much for about 2.5 years. 2014 came, and they decided they needed some customers, and they started getting some help, and we hired our first sales engineer, we hired our first sales director, and they kind of went to market. We didn't really have any graphics or logos. I'm not even sure we had a name Snowflake at the time. They got our first customers online in 2014, and we're very successful with them. And then in 2015, the company kind of formalized more, and they went to market. The service was GA on Amazon. We kind of took off from there. Since then, we've been one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing cloud company ever. And we're on pace to be maybe the fastest growing technology company ever, which that's saying a lot. So in 2018, we received, up to that point, almost $1 billion in venture capital funding. We got our last round of funding of $450 million in the October timeframe when I started. Last year in 2018, we weren't even on the Magic Quadrant at all, and we jumped into the Leader Quadrant just within a matter of months. So that is saying a lot. If you ever pay attention to how technologies kind of evolve and mature as they move through the Magic Quadrants, most of them start out as some kind of niche player and then work their way up eventually to the Leader Circle if they ever make it there. Snowflake kind of started out there.
So I'll add, last week, anyone know what happened on LinkedIn for Snowflake? Anybody? Yes, what is it? Yes, number one startup to work for in the country. Yeah, we were number 38 2 years ago, 17 last year, now number 1. So yes, let's just say our LinkedIn profiles have blown up since then. So
yeah,
it's crazy.
I was employee number 530, and we're approaching about 1,700 now, and so that's October to now, so less than a year. And then I am engineer number 72, and we have, I think, over 300 engineers now. At one point, I think Capital One had more Snowflake engineers than we did. I think we've passed them a little bit, but...
Yeah, we finally caught them.
Yeah.
I was customer number 48, so 2016. So it's been amazing to watch. And fun to jump on the ride.
So from quarter to quarter, I mean, we're almost tripling in the number of customers that are coming on from quarter to quarter. And when I started, we hadn't even reached 2,000 customers. Now we have over 3,000 customers. So we want everyone to be successful. We spend a lot of time on an individual basis with all of our customers, helping them with everything that they need to make sure that they set up their data pipeline properly, to make sure that their BI visualization tools are optimized to run on Snowflake, to make sure that all the lines of business that want to have access to that data have access to that data, and then just make sure that we provide the correct compute resources according to your business's SLAs.
Jason told me to nudge him. He has 5 minutes for the intro.
Yeah.
That's all you got left.
Okay, now
Right.
this is actually my favorite slide. So this is what we call our rainbow architecture slide. And I could spend hours talking about how all these different components work, but I'm just going to simplify it because of the amount of time that we have. Terry and Benoit ended their career at Oracle on the Exadata team, reporting directly to the founder and CEO at the time, Larry Ellison. And an Exadata machine runs about $100,000 a terabyte to own. And they knew that that was not a good way to go forward. So over the last, I'd say, 10 years, especially with SSDs that could be used, the processing was moved kind of to the storage tier to try to solve heavy workloads. The truth is that's not where the main bottleneck is. The main bottleneck with compute and analytics has always been the lack of compute. So Terry and Benoit are like, what if we could assign as much compute as needed to an analytic workload to complete that work every time, and just pull that in from a pool that is just sitting and waiting to be used? That would revolutionize the market. So what they did is they created their database files on S3 originally on AWS. So we store database files in 16 megabyte micro partitions, and it is highly compressed. We usually get about 5x compression from what we see, and even when we move over other database technologies like Oracle, we get higher compression rates than Oracle has, and then certainly better compression than something like a Netezza box. So we have the centralized storage that everyone has access to for their database files that are managed by the service Snowflake itself. After that, we use the S3 storage for staging areas. So you need a place to upload your data into the cloud, and Snowflake offers internal staging, or you can use external staging. So if you want to use an S3 bucket of your own that you have with your own AWS environment, you can use that. If you want to use Google Cloud Storage, you can use that. If you want to use Azure Blob Storage, you can use that. We can connect to any of them, regardless of which cloud they're on and regardless of which region that they're running in. It doesn't even have to be the same region that your cloud is in. This is actually the feature that attracted me over to Snowflake from Oracle, and that's multi-cluster warehouse. When I first heard about this, I was being recruited to Snowflake. I'm like, multi-cluster warehouse? There's no way that works, because knowing how legacy databases work, we coupled the binaries and the storage and the compute all together to make it run as fast as possible. But there's lots of problems with that design. And the main problem with that design is if you ever need to expand storage, you're going to have to rebuild the cluster or have some kind of outage if you don't have some kind of active data guard kind of situation set up, where you could have a rolling failover or roll through different nodes to get that storage added. Number two, if you need to add more compute, you have to add more either VMs. If you're running in a virtualized manner, you're going to have to add some more compute servers. And then just patches and upgrades and all the stuff that happens with security. Because most companies, at least with Oracle databases, try to do the critical security patches at least quarterly, and that is a serious disruption to business. Multi-cluster warehouse. It's completely separate from compute. We can isolate our workloads. And so when we isolate our workloads, that means that every single individual user can have their own compute that would never compete with anyone else's compute. So that you can run the analytics that you need, get the data answers that you need, and then move on from there. If there's going to be some form of a wait event in the database, the Snowflake Database Optimizer will automatically, if you have multi-cluster warehouse turned on, add more compute resources to that. the compute is turned on automatically when SQL is executed, and then it shuts down automatically. Snowflake charges per second, which makes it highly efficient in billing from some of the other cloud solutions that are out there that bill on an hourly basis. The last tier, and we're only going to focus on the data sharing piece, is the database is designed to be the opposite of Oracle. Oracle has about 2,000 parameters that have evolved over time, over the 40 years of that database. Snowflake, we don't really have parameters for you to manage or optimize as your data kind of evolves. The Snowflake Global Services tier does that for you. It manages the environment for you. It's always on. The S3 or the blob storage, if you're on Azure or Google, is always on and available. It manages the transactional consistency. It handles your security for you. If you run, all of the data in Snowflake is encrypted at all times. You cannot connect to Snowflake without an encrypted session. If you're running, we just renamed it from enterprise sensitive data to business critical. If you're running the top level of Snowflake, which is what most of our customers end up doing because they have sensitive data, it encrypts every single SQL statement separately with a new encryption key. Snowflake does not have access to your data. We just house the environment that runs your database. So
really quick on compliance, PCI compliant, HIPAA compliant, high trust certifications ongoing right now. Your typical ISO certifications, your FedRAMP process we're going through. We have federal customers. HHS was the first one. So lots of financial services companies, names that you would know. We can mention publicly Capital One, but lots of financial services companies. Think hedge funds, think you name it, they're out there. And the key to that, it's a service, you guys. This is something that we have. I have a startup in California, 10 people that are going to disrupt, they think, the payer community, insurance companies, and we work with the largest payers in the world. So you have this full spectrum where you have 10 people. They're not DBAs, they're not experts in data warehousing, but it's a service. So you take it, you pour your data in, you query your data. The one thing we don't do is data modeling, which again, there's a lot of self-taught people out there that do data modeling, what have you, but that's kind of the one thing that we leave to our customers is how they model the data. So that's it.
All right, the second to last tile in the top tier of the global service is metadata management. The metadata manager has block awareness of where the data actually resides, which allows us to use the database in a manner without indexes. So I already mentioned before that we store the data in 16 megabyte micro partitions on really inexpensive S3 storage, which is $23 a terabyte. The metadata manager really just has pointers to the data, and if you were to run an update statement in Snowflake, really what happens is you run an append. And so the metadata will move the pointer from the old location to the new location, and then when you read the data as you're selecting it, it would look at the new location. That's a kind of a cool feature in that it enables some other capabilities, including time travel. So many of our customers that are in like the retail space may choose to query the data as it looked last week. So what did Wednesday look like this week? What does Wednesday look like last week at this time in sales? And you can do that without having some kind of clone copy or replicated copy somewhere else. You can query the data as is at that point in time. That also helps us with things like if someone were to make some kind of catastrophic mistake, like drop database, you can undrop database because when we write the data, it's an immutable copy and we keep it. You can keep the copies of the data out there for up to 90 days. The default setting is to start with 24 hours. The last section is where we're going to spend all of the time today, and that's the data sharing piece. So who here has to send data somewhere else to some kind like SFTP or you email files somewhere else that are zipped up? Anyone have to send files on a regular basis somewhere else?
Yeah, who emails Excel files?
Who emails Excel files around your company?
With PHI in it.
So
you're not going to admit it, I know, so don't.
Yeah. How many times do you have, I mean, you don't have to raise your hand with it, but a lot of folks have to actually SFTP data that has sensitive information in it to third parties, and then you lose control of the data at that point. What if they had a breach and you're found liable for that breach because you sent that data to them? I mean, you're talking about all sorts of different compliance situations.
That hasn't happened to anybody, right?
Probably not, but I hope not anyway. Okay, last thing I'm going to mention is you can run Snowflake on Google, AWS, or Azure, or a combination of those. So you can run in any region that you choose where the Snowflake service is available. You can fail over from one cloud provider to the other. If you use Snowflake on any of the 3 major cloud providers, it's an identical experience. So the sizings are the same. The pricing is generally the same. They're very competitive in pricing, and we pass through the storage cost, and then we just charge for the per second SQL execution, based upon which version of Snowflake that you're running, and most people are running the business critical version. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the data sharing piece, which is why we're all here. So this is a Forrester research study. It says 76% have launched or plan to launch initiatives to improve ability to source external data. 80% want to expand their use of external data, and 48% are sharing or selling their data externally. So Snowflake last fall, a little after I started, introduced this kind of, I say, put the term out there of a data share house. And so on top of that, we added a rebate program where if you were to get one of your partners, one of your customers, someone else that you do business with to sign up for Snowflake, and then you share your compute resources, you'd be able to link your Snowflake environments together, which is what we're going to do, show you how to do today, and then run analytics across them in a secured manner with all your data in one place with it never moving. So this is kind of a game changer. So if you're familiar with like Oracle database, database links, how you run queries across different databases that may be on different servers or different clusters, and then be able to get the query results back. We're able to do something similarly to that, except we're running across the cloud, and these queries could be running on different clouds. So you could have a data share with something that's on Google, and another data share with something that's on Amazon, and another data share with something that's on Azure, and connect those environments together to run analytics. So the term data sharing can be very scary to some organizations, especially with highly sensitive information. Todd mentioned the certifications that we have for our data. We are in government cloud, so we have FedRAMP certification. But if you want to do, we have large companies that do data sharing as well. So one that I will mention today is Turner Broadcasting. They're down in Atlanta. I believe they have about 21 TV stations. Every single TV station wanted their own Snowflake environment. But corporate wanted to have views over everything that's happening on an analytic perspective per TV station. So the corporate could run through a data share, and they can link all these environments together. They'd be able to run their analytics for all of their TV stations together, even though they have 21 environments.
And to be clear, we have no access to your data. The only way we can see your data is that you give us a user, which you shouldn't. But just let that, we are not a data aggregator. We don't aggregate data on your behalf and then go monetize it for you. This is a platform. It's a platform, it's a database, it's something that you manage and you run, not something that there are data aggregators out there in financial services and healthcare and you name it. We are not one of those. We do not want to manage your data, right? When I say that, manage it from what you decide to do with it, we are the platform that allows you to manage your data. Cool.
Thanks. And it is your data. You own it. We don't. If for some reason you wanted to move off of Snowflake, it's just as easy to dump it out of Snowflake as it is to get it in there. So there's zero lock-in with Snowflake.
Yeah, we don't hold it hostage. Right. There might be an EMR vendor out there that someone runs, if you may know who this is, that believes that they own the data on behalf of the hospitals, right? So we don't. Have no desire.
So this is kind of the key to data sharing, and that there's data providers and data consumers. And in the lab exercise, and if you don't get through it today because there's a lot of steps to it, that's fine. We have the documentation plus this presentation available to you on a GitHub site that I'll show you at the end, so that you can have a Word document to follow and use on your trial account later or share with your friends. So if you really wanted to, you could create a data share with one of your coworkers and then run analytics across that share. But we want to just give everyone a live access view of the data. Snowflake is enabling real-time analytics, and we're seeing a lot of batch processing go by the wayside because we can isolate our workloads. So most of our customers have dedicated ETL warehouse compute. I'm going to use the word warehouse. Warehouses don't really have any data. It's what we have is our compute multi-cluster tier. when you set up your compute resource for ETL, that is dedicated, and so that does not compete with anyone else. So you could have however many users running queries, and then the ETL process is running as that data comes in with no impact on performance whatsoever. So the Snowflake data, okay, go ahead.
Time check. No, I was just going to say.
Okay. Snowflake Data Exchange, we wanted to make sure the data was live, so it's real-time data. It's completely secure from a regulatory compliance standpoint. It's frictionless, and it's personalized.
And I'll add, this is super quick. This is the App Store for data. So public data exchange, we have these customers. This just went live. We announced it at our conference 2 months ago. So basically anyone, not even just customers, anyone can come up here and have access to people's data. And the public data exchange is your free, right, freemium service. Okay, and then there's a private data exchange as well. So think about you're in a vertical, you have a lot of valuable data, you don't want to put it in a public exchange, but you have 15 partners that you want to share that data with. There's a data catalog aspect to this, right? You click on it, you see what tables are available and what data is available, then you choose it. Again, freemium service in the public exchange, and then private exchange is, again, a lot more, think about sensitive data and not wanting the public to know who all your partners are, right, for various reasons. There's a private version as well.
That's right. So you'd be able to subscribe to this data. And so one of the things that we're hearing from customers a lot over the last year since I've been with Snowflake is that IT is not only being challenged with keeping costs down, they're being challenged with turning from a cost center to a profit center. And so how do you do that? You have to come up with a way to monetize your data. So I mentioned before that we have a rebate program on compute for getting other customers signed up to Snowflake and then linking and sharing compute resources across those Snowflake environments to run your analytics. We have one customer that's really doing a bunch of that, and they're called Blackboard. And so they have a lot of educational institutions, and they set up their data shares, and then they're able to do, they told our CEO that their goal is to have a zero compute charge because of how many rebates they have, because of how many people they've gotten signed up for Snowflake. All right, okay, now we're gonna go through the demo, which I will attempt to do.
3 minutes.
Since I don't have
you have 3 minutes to do it.
A table.
The HDMI cable didn't work. That's
yeah, the supplied HDMI cable is bad, and so I had to use my own. But I almost had wished I brought my own projector, but. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to click on this website here, and we're going to I'm going to get out of the presentation for now. Okay, good, it came up. Okay. So the use case here is, let me go back to the home page. Okay. So this is all developed using AWS services. One of my peer solution architects developed this and put it out on our demo site for us to use and show to you guys today. So the idea, this is a grocery store example, and they want to enroll enroll their customers for customer loyalty programs. And they have different ways to do this. And there's an architecture diagram showing all of the services that were used to develop the platform, and then landing all the data in Snowflake real time, and then you can share that data out. So what is the use case here? So how about, every grocery store is going to sell Coca-Cola products. Coca-Cola spends a lot of time research and development trying to figure out placement of their products within the store. And so one of the things we're going to see in this demo is that stores arrange things in a certain way because they want us to walk through them to see their main products. They've figured out that if they put certain products in certain places in the store, they may not sell it all, or they may sell a bunch of them. So I go to Publix in my neighborhood almost every day because it's just too darn convenient. But when I saw this demo, I'm like, oh my gosh, they know me because they know how I walk around the store. How many of you have ever walked around a grocery store going to the left side and then going around the wrong direction? A couple of you do it. Most of you probably go around the right and then go hit it that way, which causes you to go see more things and pick up more items along the way. Is something you want to add, Todd? Okay, so in this example, they want to show like auto enrollment, so walk-in store enrollment. They want to innovate the reward system to entice customers to stay with them over other grocery stores, and they want to increase the retention rate. And so once they start seeing buying patterns with customers, they can figure out all sorts of different things using predictive analytics about, how long is this customer going to be with us, and ultimately what else we're going to be able to sell to them, and what's the duration of them being a customer of this grocery store. We're going to cover the routing from within the grocery store itself, the demographics. So the store has cameras throughout the store, and they can capture pictures and see emotions of the customers as they walk through the store to see if they like something or if they don't like something. See what conversion rate they have. So, does someone sign up for the loyalty program and not come back? Or do they come back and not use their loyalty card? What's going on with them? Proximity marketing. So these are things where you can put in IoT devices throughout the store, and they notice your cell phone is there, and they will send you a coupon for something that you buy a lot of just while you're walking through the store. Okay, what does this look like? So you walk through the door, and I can kind of click through and click all these different things that I want to look at and see different paths through the store itself and different ways to get through and how to get to the checkout. But along the way, you're gonna pass through a bunch of things. So if you notice, this store probably sells a lot of beer, because you notice they put it in the furthest portion of the store away from the in-outdoor. So they're like, what all do we want people to walk through before they go buy beer? I noticed, like my Publix, when Tennessee changed the law to start selling wine, they put some right in the door. And then they have other wine stands like literally all over the store. They have chips and candy kind of in the middle of the store. I guess they figure a lot of people are going to go through there. The breakfast items kind of on the way out, and ATM kind of on the front, away from the doors as well. So this is kind of the way they want to route you through the store. Okay, I'm going to just upload my speaker image and go through the emotions portion of the demo, and then we're going to stream this data. This data is going to be streaming into Snowflake, so you can kind of see things here. So I'm going to upload my picture real fast. It also has a camera feature, so you notice the little red camera light came on. I hate cameras on laptops, and I have a camera blocker, so you can never see me. The only time I'm ever asked to use this is if I call to IT because I have a problem and they have to make sure it's me. Okay, I'm going to type in my name. I'm going to save it. Okay, and what it's going to do. Okay. Join Snowflake on May 14th for hands-on. Okay, let's see. Emotions. Supposed to store the emotions, and it did yesterday. But anyway, I've got to
sign up for the workshop.
Anyway, I will try it one more time, and if I'll skip, I still got enough data in here to do it anyway if it doesn't work. Is my Wi-Fi connection still working? Yep. Okay. Well, anyway, I will move on the. What it was supposed to do is show if I was smiling. It shows my age. It guesses a range of age. So it said like 35 to 50. It says no beard. So anyway, but this is the orchestration of the application itself, and everything is going to eventually end up in Snowflake, and then you see all the different tools that are being used, and then you could even use other features from Amazon, including Alexa. So I'm going to jump over to the demo portion now and log in as SnowStore. And one thing that I haven't spoken on yet is that Snowflake has embedded data lake capabilities. And what I mean by that is we have the ability to ingest semi-structured data and run SQL queries against them and relate that data to the traditional OLAP table data that's there. So I'm going to run through a number of queries that were written against the data that's being streamed in from the store analytics. I'm going to kind of walk through some of the things they're doing, and these are the steps that will also be used in the lab that I'm going to show you in a second. So,
can you zoom in a little bit?
Oh yeah, that is way small
yeah, I was gonna
up
say,
there.
Yeah.
Is that good?
There you
Pretty
go.
good? Okay. Okay, so the raw format that's coming in is JSON. And so Snowflake has a data type that's called variant. Variant allows us to ingest semi-structured data files. JSON is the most common one we see, but you could also use like ORC, Parquet, Avro, XML, et cetera. Any kind of field delimited kind of file format, and then you'd be able to use those fields and then run queries against regular table data, like I mentioned, or some end users that may not be familiar with using semi-structured format. You could put a traditional database view over the top using our extended SQL capabilities, and so that if you visualize that using something like Power BI or Tableau, it would just look like traditional table data to the end user, and they have no earthly idea that they're reading JSON. So most of the SQL in Snowflake is just things you're going to recognize, but because we do things a little bit differently, like separate the storage for compute for workload isolation, you're going to see some use statements you may not be familiar with. So I have a compute warehouse set up that's of size extra small. I'm going to use a database called customers. I'm going to select the top 100 rows from the customers table, from the face tracking table in the customers database in the public schema. And I'm going to run that. We could open the query while it's running and see everything that's happening. If you click on Run All Queries, it will run everything that's listed, or you can run a select. You can select what you want in the SQL worksheet and just run what's selected. I'm going to run everything here, so I can get to that query and see the output that runs on ultimately the sessions. So I'm going to select 100 rows of the face tracking table. I'm going to select the customer data, and I'm going to select the session data. And so when all of that runs, you're able to see the execution over here, and then you can click on query ID. So if you needed to if there were any joins that were going on, what happens is that there's a profile, and it creates a SQL execution plan so that you can see the most costly portions of the query. So if you were to have, like, let's say 10 table joins together, when you open the SQL profile, it automatically zooms in on the most costly portion of the query. So if you needed to tune anything, like you joined something in a manner that wasn't as efficient, or you kind of ordered your where clause in a manner that didn't go after the data the fastest way. Used to be, when you're running a SQL statement on maybe an on-prem technology, and especially engineered systems, that coding for efficiency was less important because you were just throwing hardware at it and said it'll finish when it finishes, and then I'll have those results. In the cloud, you're paying for it per second, so it makes the most sense to be the most efficient and to use appropriate size compute resources for the job that you're actually trying to accomplish.
So let me add, as an executive, this changes a culture, okay? So if you were purchasing on-premise data warehousing or on-premise anything, you made a $100,000 or multi-million-dollar purchase, and then everyone consumed it to their heart's desire. This is different. This is pay-as-you-go. So what you do is you make this type of this data available to your users and to the people that are responsible for the warehouse to understand where the usage patterns are, to make them more efficient, to take a 800-row query that's generated from a Tableau or Looker and then flatten out the data and make it into a 2-row query. Because while it will chew up that 800-row query and it will spit it out very fast, that may cost 35 cents for a query. If you flatten out the data, it may cost 2 cents per query, right? So that adds up. Over time, you got thousands of users and people hitting it. It is something that basically our customers typically sawtooth. So their usage goes up, and then they become more efficient, comes back down, then it goes back up, and it goes back down. Okay? Ultimately, it goes higher because they're getting business value and getting an ROI out of it. So with this, you're able to generate an ROI, know what your ROI is for everything that you do, because you can query, you can manage, and understand what the cost is. Okay, so I went back and just ran the customer query, and what you can see
is that I've got the data here, and then it's all stored in JSON. And so now I'm going to go in and start running some queries on the actual age by gender and start doing some analytics against it. See what it looks like. I'm just going to make sure everything's set up properly. I'm going to run this SQL statement independently. I'm going to open the SQL query. So you can watch all of this while it's running. If you have more than one warehouse set up, you have the ability to change which you're able to change your compute resources as you're running, resize them, things like that. So the way that works is if you've got a SQL statement that's executing, and like every semicolon, of course, is an end of command. If you have SQL statement, SQL statement, SQL statement like that, let's say I'm running on an extra small, and it normally runs in like, let's say 30 minutes, and I need it in 15 minutes because some executive's asking for a report. I can change the size of it on the fly to a small warehouse, which will double the compute resources while everything is executing, and then the query will complete in approximately half the amount of time. So looking at the query results here, I can see the genders and the population, and then the age ranges that it kind of guesstimated by the facial data. I'm going to look at the store age by gender. So this is just kind of another turn of the data. As we're kind of pivoting around those few tables that we're looking at.
And let me add, so I myself, I'm a data geek, so I'm much more comfortable in a Looker and a Tableau than I am running SQL, right? So what our customers have challenged us with many things, but two things that we've done in the last year. Number one, we made an acquisition called Numeracy. And so Numeracy will be our new front end, and so what you'll see is autocomplete on SQL statements, and you get very, very simple visualizations. This is not our attempt to compete with our Looker, Tableau, Power BI, and everybody else, our friends. What we're saying is that if you are a Power user and you're inside Snowflake, you want to quickly visualize something, you can do really, really simple visualization. So the data geek in me, right, is excited about that. I'm not a SQL expert, but I am more of a data geek business analyst type of expert. So there's number one. Number two is that we've been asked to do more what we call data pipelines and being able to run tasks and run stored procedures, getting a little technical here, inside of Snowflake and have more structure around that. So we've added that as well. Again, not to compete with all of our awesome ELT partners, Fivetran out here, Alteryx, and those guys are phenomenal partners. They all have their value proposition. What people also want to do is once they get the data in, especially if we're their data lake, they want to do that data transformation and execute that inside Snowflake. So we have what's called streams and tasks. So basically, it's just understand that very, very robust. There's lots of stuff you can do here, but also understand we're adding it so it's inside the tool you can do a little visualization, right? You can do some data pipelining, and it's not, I want to say not just a data warehouse, it's many, many things. So. Okay,
thanks. So I ran another query on the emotions. I went back to the other one. It's probably not storing because I already did it this morning, and it's not saving over the top, so that's a bug probably we need to fix. You'll see that I'm logged in with a reader account. And so remember, this is the example. This is a grocery store, and you are sharing the data with Coca-Cola because you're trying to figure out where in the store is the best positioning of your products. So I'm going to create a view of this data within this, and this is the reader account. So they're going across. What you will notice here, I think you can probably see that, is there's a little arrow next to the database icon, and that means it's a data share house. So you know that that is not running in your environment. You may not even know where it's running. I mean, like I said, it could be in Google, it could be in Azure, it could be in another region altogether. But that data is shared to you, and you have access to it to run queries against it. So I'm going to run all queries here, and I'm going to I'm going to create a view against that data, and then I can query that data, and then Coca-Cola can use this data, and if they they may have their own Snowflake environment, and they may be able to do some analytics against what's running in Publix, and then let's say Albertsons get Snowflake, they may be able to connect into there and figure out positioning, and then they may also figure out regionally. I mean, Coke actually has lots of different types of drinks, and sometimes especially their fruity drinks sell well in some areas of the country, and in some areas of the country they don't sell so well. So figuring out exactly how to market the data. So that's kind of the concept of the data share itself. And now we're going to jump back over to the PowerPoint presentation and show you how to get into your own trial.
15 minutes.
Yeah, you got it. So I know that the trial itself, the workshop itself is, there's a lot of steps to it. So these are the things that we're going to do. So if you were able to, has anyone done trial.snowflake.com and received the email to get into it? Yes, I see that. Okay, good. The next thing we're going to need you to do, and I apologize for the long URL, if you don't want to do that while we're sitting in here, you can write this down and you can download the PDF of the presentation I just showed, as well as the lab guide, which is in a Microsoft Word format, so that you can share this with your friends and coworkers, and then you all can create data shares with each other if you choose to, because this lab will kind of walk you through how to do that.
And we'll keep this up there at the end. We'll put it back up as we end the session. Is there a break after this? What's after this? Is there a break? Okay, cool. So that'll work out well.
Okay, so I'm going to...
Or take a picture of it. There you go. Hold on. They're taking pictures.
Okay, I can go back.
Okay, go.
Anyway, let me get this guy smaller real fast. And I'm going to end the show. I'm going to open the lab guide. Okay. Let me blow that up. Is that big enough? Okay. So there's the trial link that we're going to do. Mentioned before, you're probably going to want to choose at least Enterprise Edition, so you can do multi-cluster warehouse to show how that kind of works. Pick a region that's close to here or close to your home base for your data processing if it happens to be in another region. I would probably go with whichever cloud provider your company is standardized on. If you have both, then it may not matter. It's just a trial anyway. You'll receive an email that says where there's a click to activate link. And so once that happens, you can start logging into your environment. So I'm going to log in to my environment as admin, and I signed up for this yesterday.
So is everyone who's playing along, have you got that far?
Is anyone playing along?
Yes.
You can do it later? Okay,
I know there's people playing along. So have you guys made it this far? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All right, cool.
Let me zoom again.
Yep, our participants have made it that far, so they're with you.
Let me go back over to my link real fast. Sorry, I rebooted a number of times trying to get that HDMI cable working, and it wasn't cooperating. So let me just do. I just needed my URL because all of these are unique. Okay.
So for security, we have multi-factor authentication, just so in case anyone was curious, right? Very important from corporate users' perspective, right? That you have multi-factor authentication, so you'll have your Okta or whatever integration, or Ping or whomever like that. We have that full SAML capability with MFA. For any of you security people in here.
Slow internet connection.
That's because everybody in here is hitting it too.
Yeah, everyone else, well, we should all be in different regions. Well, we're all in the same Wi-Fi, but different regions. So I could try switching to the Summit one and see. I guess I should switch.
I don't know. It's always a... Is there people on the Summit one? Is it working well?
Did anyone log in? Okay.
Yeah, they're saying the Summit one is working well. So.
What? Yeah, I could use my hotspot. Sometimes that's kind of slow too. Well, I do have screen prints of everything anyway. So.
I tried to switch over to the Summit one. Yeah, I mean.
You want me to try the Summit one?
Yeah.
What was the password of that one?
Okay.
Nash Analytics.
Capital N, capital A. There you go. You had it.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet the lobby one probably throttled you down. They're like, hey, what are you doing on our lobby Wi-Fi?
Okay, I'm going to log in as admin.
Much faster.
Yeah, that one's better.
Now we're screaming.
Okay, when you log in the first time, I've already logged in, so there's not any screens for me to minimize or anything. I will show you what that looks like in Word. There will be a welcome message like that. So this says getting to know Snowflake. There's a side panel for your worksheet that you can X out and close. And then you can close the browse database objects just to get through this. And then the first thing we're going to do is switch roles to sysadmin. And then we're going to see that an account tab appears. I'm going to switch to account admin from sysadmin. The account tab appears, and at this point I will be going, I already did this yesterday, so I created a new account admin named Snowman, and after I created him, I went over into a SQL worksheet, and I ran a statement to grant account admin to user Snowman, because you have to have account admin access to create a data share to external consumers or subscribers. So the statement to run that, you really just run that in a SQL worksheet as I was showing before in the other demo. These are the screen prints for creating a user. So login name Snowman and display name Snowman. Some of this information is required and some of it isn't. The required fields are starred, so username, password, confirm password. You'll notice that forced password change is the default. If you want to keep the same password that you came up with, you can uncheck that. And I would make sure that you keep track of your passwords that you use for the demo trial environment. You can use the same password for all 3 accounts that you create in this trial. There's no issue with that. Just make sure, again, you uncheck it. Otherwise, you'd have to go in as admin, click on the user, and then reset their password, and you can go back to the beginning. When you need to add a new SQL worksheet within the web UI, you can click on the plus button that's right here, and that allows you to run as many of these SQL statements as you need to. You can label all of your SQL worksheets. So like I could say grant usage or something on that one. This one I could do whatever I want, like create data share or whatever. You can name these things. And also you can pull in, if you code in some other kind of IDE or some other kind of editor and you want to upload your code into the cloud, there's a way to load the script here. Once it's loaded into the cloud, it stays in the cloud, and so if you log off the cloud and you log back in, these SQL worksheets will stay intact. And then when our new web UI comes out, it's going to allow for some sharing. So right now, the only real way to collaborate within a Snowflake session is to be on the same Zoom session or WebEx, be over the same computer or something like that. But going forward, we'll have ways to share your sessions so that you can collaboratively code, because a lot of folks using Snowflake may be in different offices. Someone may be working from home, and it's just going to help overall with the usability of Snowflake.
So for sake of time, you might use I don't think we'll have time to do the full deal. Go back to the screen, the Snowflake sample data.
Yeah.
Kind of explain that, and I think that's, from a time.
Yeah, so what
We've got like 7 minutes, so I think if you explain this and what we're doing and providing, as everyone that just signed up for an account, you have access, we shared, right, this Snowflake sample data with every account when you sign up. So that kind of shows the concept, and then, for people that can stay after, we're happy to dive in and keep going after the session, and then we'll go from there, but just explain that.
So the Frosty DB, so DemoDB comes to environment. Frosty DB is one that's created within the workshop. The shared data share, the data share house of Snowflake sample data is here, and I chose the weather data. So the use case here is that admin created Snowman, who is also an account admin. Snowman creates another reader account called Olaf. And Olaf wants to read the
Everyone get the theme here?
Olaf wants to read the weather data for 2019 across a secure view. All the weather data is stored in JSON, and Olaf just wants to see every day that it snowed in 2019. So he's going to query. So what happens in the lab is, as we work through it, again, I will just kind of go through the screen prints. After the users are created, we create a database. We create some compute resources. I actually create a physical table in my Frosty DB from the Snowflake Data Share, copying those tables into my environment. So if you have, once you have your reader account, you can start pulling things into your own environment, doing your own things instead of just querying it. If you need to do some actionable work on that data, you can create your own kind of environment. Then I created a secure view on top of it that limited the data to 2019. I create the reader account, as I mentioned, named Olaf, and he says Frosty's weather data shared with Olaf. What happens when you create the data share is as you're in the environment, you see this URL here, it produces a new URL just for the data share reader account. I think I stored the URL for it. I know it's in the screen prints anyway. Yeah, Olaf.
So really quick to explain a reader account. You have a Snowflake account, your partner doesn't yet. So you fire up a reader account. So they actually have access, as he's logging into it, into Snowflake, but all they can do is read. They can't fire up their own compute. They can't put in their own data. They can simply read. And so this is how this started with, in healthcare, with electronic medical records vendor has providers. And the providers wanted access to their data and have read access. So the EMR vendor basically created a share, and then all the providers have reader accounts, and the same thing for Blackboard, and they're able to query their data sitting in the EMR vendor's Snowflake account. Cool.
So after you work through the steps of creating the reader account, creating the secure views, creating the data share with those secure views, then you end up with
Zoom in.
Oh, it does that every time.
It does.
Nice. Okay, so what I ended up doing is creating these views here, and then you're able to preview the data, and then that'll be generated on that other, Frosty DB. And what you will notice is all the weather is stored in JSON, and I can kind of look through the fields and see kind of what's there. Oh, this one was scattered clouds, and so the use case would be you could write some extended SQL to run against these weather views and query the weather field for snow, so Olaf can see every day that it snowed during the year of 2019. So that's kind of the basis of the kind of the demo and the workshop for today. So does that kind of make sense to everyone? Somewhat easy to follow. The truth is with Snowflake is that it's incredibly easy to use. It takes me longer to explain what it is that you're doing than it actually does to do it. So just copying all these screen prints yesterday to create the lab guide for you guys took quite a bit of time, but actually doing the work was not very cumbersome at all.
So we'll pause here. We just got a few minutes. I know there's a break afterwards, and people are welcome to stay, and we'll stay. Any questions for those that are going to have to leave here in a few minutes? Any questions we covered, right? I mean, it's a tremendous amount to cover in a very short amount of time. General questions about Snowflake, about data sharing, about anything. We're happy to answer. Everyone's like, overload, right? There's a lot.
Yeah, so stop by our booth and come see us, and you can speak with me, Todd, David, or Steve, or Mike, and we have Lindsay sitting out at the booth right now. If you want to have a technical deep dive with us on your individual use case, or get more into the architecture, or just anything else, how can we kind of help with your data, embellish what you're doing today, give you additional capabilities, and help maybe solve some real world problems that you may be dealing with. maybe providing data to your end users, maybe it's delayed on a daily basis, and you're looking to solve those types of issues. We're here to help in any way that we can.
So we do this workshop every other week online, live. Had almost 1,000 people attend last week. So I don't think there's one this week. I think it's next week. But it is, 4 hours at least, I think. So that way you have the time at a good pace. Obviously, if we had a Zoom fired up, right, we could have shared and write the SQL statements with you, copy paste, right? So that would have been more feasible. It's kind of, again, tough to do in this time frame, but just know that that's out there. If you've got, spend a good 2, 3, 4 hours of your day, but after you're done, huge value to be able to do the full workshop.
The full workshop should take probably less than 30 minutes to work through.
To actually do, right.
Yeah, to actually do it. So there's the link if you need it to download the collateral for the workshop. And you can reach out to me if you have any questions about it. My email address is just jason.shull@snowflake.com. And I'll be glad to help you with it in any way that I can. Jump on a Zoom session if you're not here, or even just collaborate while we're here. So thank you all for your time. Thanks for coming, and it was great to have you.